For over 17 years, AMEXCAP has been working to support the success of our fund managers, foment the rise of new asset classes, and build links between the public and private sector, and attract international investors to Mexico. Yet most of all, AMEXCAP has been working to help us create world-class institutions to generate exceptional returns and to build long-lasting and successful investments. AMEXCAP helps us to attract the best talent to this industry and work with fund managers and investors like yourselves to not only understand our strengths, but also our blind spots and weaknesses, to help us improve, to measure our progress, and show results. For this reason, AMEXCAP committed this year to understand exactly where we all stand today in regards to gender diversity of our teams, investment committees, decision makers, and boards. I'm very excited to share with you now the results and highlights from this first study conducted in Mexico regarding gender diversity and inclusion in the private capital sectors. Now, the results are not pretty. I don't believe this will come as a surprise to any of you, and I know this is something we are not proud of, yet we will use these results to serve as a baseline in Mexico to track our progress as an industry and work together to attract, develop, and retain exceptional women who will be part of building world-class funds. So with that, I would like to share these initial results with you. And I'd like to start by asking the question about why we should care. Why is this something relevant for all of us? Because we are committed to adopt the best practices and international standards. We can do this because we know that Mexico's GDP could increase by 70% in 5 years if we were to end the gender gap in the workplace. As an industry, we have the potential to be an economic and social change catalyst. Did you know that funds with greater gender diversity at partner levels obtain higher returns? VCs that increase their female partner proportions by 10% obtain higher IRRs by 1.5% and generate 9.7% more profitable exits. Gender-balanced leadership teams are positively correlated with 25% higher valuations. And companies with a higher participation of women on boards obtain higher returns, higher valuations, and more dividend payouts. In study after study, this continues to be proven. Even with startups with teams with at least one female entrepreneur grow faster and exit faster than those with only one male entrepreneur. So how did we do this study? Well, thanks to the support from all of you. We spoke with 161 funds operating in Mexico. These surveys were directed not only to fund managers, to the GPs, but also to the fund administrators, and we also conducted 22 personalized interviews with GPs. This could not have happened without the support of AMEXCAP, who has promised to set this baseline survey that we will conduct every 2 years. Also with the support of the leadership of Liliana Reyes, Monica Pascua, and the author of this study, Jimena Custe. Thanks to the support of our partners and our sponsors, Spencer Stuart, Interlinks, and Silicon Valley Bank, this study was possible. And most of all, I would like to thank the 150 women who are part of the group Mujeres Invirtiendo. Without their support and encouragement and access throughout the funds, the survey could not have been possible. So what did the results say? First of all, 91% of the key investment decision makers across asset classes in Mexico are men. Now, this gets better from the senior level to the middle level and to the junior level as we see more women being involved. Yet still 76% of the surveyed funds do not have any senior level females at all in their investment teams. Looking at only the top level funds that have assets under management over $25 million, this number is diminished significantly. As an industry standard in Mexico, we only have 3% of senior level decision makers as women. In venture capital, the numbers are slightly better at 5.6%, and in PE, they're much worse at only 1.1%. Now we look at the international benchmark, which is extremely important to do. Across the world, the numbers are poor, but in Mexico, they are much worse. especially in private equity. Venture capital looks a little more promising because of the recent micro funds that have been incorporating more and more women into their investment teams, particularly in the middle and junior entry-level positions. Now, there are more women. Actually, women dominate the roles of the non-investment positions, which include admin support roles, investment relations roles, and legal roles. This is great news across the industry. Now, we also looked at the companies in which the funds are invested, and we found that only 11% of the invested startups have received funding from Mexican funds have a female founder, and this is half almost of the industry standard of 20%. We also looked at boards, which we know is essential, and 92% of the seats at the board of directors of the investment companies are occupied by men. This does vary across the industry, having venture capital having the highest percentage of women on their board seats of 14%, and is reduced to only 2% in the companies that have received investment through the private equity funds operating in Mexico. Now, what are the policies and what are funds doing today in regards to gender inclusion? Well, 71% of the surveyed funds do not have any diversity and gender inclusion programs in place today. But the good news is that 82% of the GPs said they're willing to develop these programs. Now, perhaps this could be because 44% of the funds reported that LPs had at some point inquired about their fund's diversity and gender inclusion policies during the due diligence and evaluation process. This is extremely important because the LPs are influencing the change. Now, we also know that the funds are influencing change in the companies. And we saw that the GPs, 69% of them were asking their investment companies about their gender inclusion and diversity questions. Now, there are a number of policies that these funds are implementing to help the situation, yet not one of these policies is replicated or represented frequently throughout all of these funds. What is most concerning is the fact that 30% of the funds do not have a clear policy in place to tackle discrimination, and 34% of these funds do not have an established protocol to resolve gender discrimination, bullying, violence, and sexual harassment, which directly contradicts a federal labor law that requires both of these protocols to be in place. Now, what are the challenges that the funds have today in Mexico to recruit, retain, and promote women in funds? We see that the majority of the funds claim they cannot simply find the women with the skills required and competencies, and they would like to increase the applicant pool. Now, there are a number of reasons why this may be the case. Everything that was reported from the fact that this seemed to be an environment where the women did not feel identified with, they could not see women in these positions. Perhaps there were stereotypes or there was unconscious gender bias. But 76% of the surveyed GPs agree that there is an opportunity to increase female participation, particularly at the entry level. And 84% of the funds claimed that their fund was just beginning to make these changes and they were in the initial stages. So what do we make with all this data? What do we take away? So clearly there is a lack of female talent available at the professional levels within this industry. Yet we know that embracing diversity and gender inclusion is a priority for every fund in their agenda today. The problem is absolutely worse at a senior level and is absolutely worse when the funds get larger in size. Yet the funds are willing to take this first step to end the gender gap and take the actions that are needed. 96% of the funds surveyed said that they were willing to improve their terms and make a change. And we have some very good news for you. First of all, AMEXCAP will have this study and details of all of the answers available immediately on the AMEXCAP's website and on La Cumbre's website as well. Please go through the detail of these responses. We know that in the future, all of the data will be better. And why is this the case? Because AMEXCAP is also publishing next month the Diversity Toolkit, which will be a detailed guide of resources that are applicable to the local Mexican labor laws that will help each of the funds understand ways that they can take immediate action to help retain and attract and promote the best female talent in Mexico. The other good news today is that for the first time in all of our AMEXCAP summits, we have over 20% participation of women attending this conference and participating as panelists. So thanks to the support of all of you, we know that this can change, thanks to your commitment. And I look forward to hearing the conversations from all of you about what each of the funds are doing. We are here to help. AMEXCAP is here to help, and Mujeres Invirtiendo is a network of women here to help. Thank you all for your time.